The whispering cradle. They found the cradle swaying on its own, though no one was in the room. The Petersons had always wanted a child, but after years of heartbreak, they decided to adopt. When a distant relative passed away unexpectedly, leaving behind an orphan baby boy, it felt like fate. They named him Henry, after David Peterson's grandfather, and brought him home to their countryside estate, a sprawling, ancient house whose creaking floors told stories of a long and shadowy history. From the first night, strange things began to happen. It started small. The ornate wooden cradle they'd placed in the nursery would sometimes rock gently as if someone was soothing the baby. Thinking it was a draft, Laura Peterson sealed the windows tight. But even on windless nights, the cradle would still move. One evening, while David sat reading in the adjacent room, he swore he heard soft humming coming from the nursery. It was a woman's voice, low and melodic, though Laura wasn't in the house at the time. But Henry, he was perfect. He rarely cried and often seemed to smile at something unseen, his dark eyes glimmering in the dim light. Visitors would coo over him, marveling at how calm and observant he seemed for a baby. But there was something in the way his gaze lingered on shadows that made David uneasy. One night, Laura woke with a start. She was certain she had heard whispering, faint and insistent, coming from the baby monitor. Turning up the volume, she froze. The whispers didn't sound like an adult's voice, or even a child's. It was layered, 100 tiny murmurs overlapping, too quiet to understand but unmistakably there. As she listened, the cradle creaked in rhythm. David dismissed it as interference, but when Laura replayed the recording, the whispers were gone. Over time, Henry's peculiarities grew harder to ignore. Objects in the nursery moved. Laura swore she saw the mobile spinning backward, even though it was wound to turn only one way. The baby began to hum softly in his crib at night, matching the haunting tune Laura had heard over the monitor. And then there were the visitors. A family friend, after holding Henry, left abruptly and refused to visit again. When pressed, she whispered, his eyes. They looked at me like he knew me. The Petersons' dog, a loyal golden retriever named Max, began growling at the nursery door. One night, Max refused to come upstairs at all. Instead, he howled outside in the cold, staring up at the window where the cradle rocked alone. As the days turned into weeks, Laura began to feel a growing sense of dread. One afternoon, while sorting through a box of belongings left behind by Henry's late mother, she found an old photograph. In it, a woman cradled a baby identical to Henry, but the photo's edges were charred as if someone had tried to destroy it. Beneath the photo was a folded piece of paper with a single word scrawled in crimson ink, cursed. That night, as the